Welcome to episode 12 of True Untold Nightmares. I'm your host, Chris Moss. Today I'm going to be sharing two encounter stories that I received from Kelly from Ohio. One is about a demonic dog, and then another is about a creepy haunted doll. But before I get into the encounters, I wanted to share two things real quick. Last episode 11, if you haven't listened to it, I didn't receive stories for a while, and then I had a bunch of other stuff going on, so there was no episode for a while. So what I did instead was that I shared a couple of encounters from one of Linda Godfrey's books. I'm a huge fan of Linda Godfrey. She is the godmother of cryptids and dogmen. And literally, like, a day after I uploaded episode 11, I heard that Linda Godfrey passed away. Condolences to her family. You know, this is a huge hit to the paranormal, cryptid, and humanoid world. She wrote, I believe, like over 20 something books. Honestly, I was hoping to meet her one day or at least get to chat with her. But, you know, unfortunately, I came into the game too late. But honestly, the weirdest part of all of this is that when I was editing episode 11, my original title was going to be Dogman Sightings Linda Godfrey Tribute. But I took out the Linda Godfrey tribute part and just left it Dogman Sightings because I felt like it made her sound dead when she wasn't dead yet. Like, you know, like I didn't want to say tribute and people think like, oh, wait, did something happen to her? So I didn't want that confusion. I didn't want that to become a rumor. So I just put it as Dogman Sightings. And I put in the description that, hey, I'm reading from, Linda's book. And it was a way to promote her work and to promote her for anybody who hasn't heard of Linda or who hasn't read the book that I read from. I even put down an Amazon link so people could go and buy the book in the description of that episode. But literally a day after uploading that episode, I was going to title it Linda Godfrey Tribute. I was like, she's not dead. I don't want people to think that. And then 24 hours later, I hear she passes away. It's just one of those weird life things, just very, very weird. But rest in peace, Linda, and thank you for everything that you've done. Back on episode 10, I did my first interview with a gentleman named Michael Edwards, and I forgot to mention that he did text me after the interview and gave me a little bit more information about a special program with Dogman. And the text says, I talked to an Army Ranger in February. He said they have a program in Arkansas called Operation Alpha Seed, where they breed dogmen to become lookout scouts for the special ops group. They become perimeter scouts and carry cameras, radar, and equipment. He stated he could not reveal any more because it was top secret classified, but they bred them for this purpose. He was a staff sergeant. I met him at a gas station in Abbeville, Louisiana. He says he wants to transfer out of this assignment because it is dangerous to him and his fellow soldiers to not be bitten or mauled by the dogman. I'm not going to say, he told me his name. I'm not going to say his name. I'm not going to say what special ops group he's a part of. But he did, the last part of the text is he said they have over 60 dogmen in captivity for training purposes. So let me know down in the comments what you think about that, because I honestly have to process that whole thing. Just the thought of them breeding dogmen for those purposes. I mean, it's not too far-fetched. It's the government. There's a lot of shady shit going on. But let me know what you think about that down in the comments. And last but not least, right before I get into the encounters, join the Facebook group. The link is in the description of every video. And don't hesitate to share your stories. Don't be scared. Encourage other people to come on and share their stories, or they can email me and share their stories, whichever they prefer. And let them know they can be as anonymous as they want to be. I take privacy very seriously. So they can make up a fake name. For all I know, I can put on a voice changer if they want to come on the show and share their encounter. Whatever they want to do, I can adapt and adjust. So let's get into these encounters. Now, this first encounter from Kelly is about a demonic Doberman. This story takes place in a town just outside of Cincinnati, Ohio. When she was little, Kelly lived at her grandparents' house with her mom, who was a single mom, and her sister. It was a smaller house, so they had to share a room and a king-size bed, and this house was older, so they were used to the strange noises that they would always hear. She even remembers her grandmother would joke about the strange noises and claim that they were her ghost friend George. Kelly said that it made them laugh, but just about every night she went to bed scared. She said that they would hear scratching on the floors, like a dog scratching hardwood floors, except that they didn't have a dog. She said that when they heard these scratching and walking sounds almost every night, they could even hear it breathing and panting. And this went on for a while. Now, one night, after they just got settled into bed with the lights out, she said she was looking at the window when all of a sudden, a swirl of black smoke formed from the window and floated down toward the floor, where it formed into a Doberman pinscher. She said that she stared at this dog as her heart dropped and every hair on her body stood up. She was paralyzed. So then the Doberman starts to walk towards the end of her bed, and she can hear those familiar nail taps on the floor. It walks to the dresser that's in front of their bed. It puts two front paws on the dresser and looks into the mirror. And she said she can see its eyes staring back at her. Its eyes were red and glowing. Then it gets down and starts walking around toward her side of the bed. She said she buried her head under her mother's arm and didn't move until the very next morning. At the time that this happened, Kelly was 6 years old. Now, she never told anyone what she had seen that night, and she's never seen that dog ghost again. Now, some years have passed, and she thinks she was about 13 years old. And one day she decided to tell her sister about what she saw that night. Her sister looked at her white as a ghost and told her that she has seen the exact same thing that night. So then they went to their mother and told her the story. Now, she thought her mom was going to think that they were crazy. But when they told the mom the story, the mom just looked at them speechless. And then she confessed that she too had also seen this demonic looking black Doberman in the room that night. Curiously, Kelly asked her mom, "So where did the dog go after I hid my face?" Her mom told her that once it came around to her side of the bed, that it just jumped through the window and out. Kelly felt a big relief knowing that she wasn't crazy and that her mom and sister had seen it also. Later, her mother told her about the people who lived in the house across the street from them. She told her that sometime in the 1960s that a family that lived there, a mother, a father, and a son, on Halloween night, a mother took her son trick-or-treating, and when the mother and son came home, they found the father hanging along with his 3 Doberman pinschers. Apparently, the father had hung his Dobermans and then himself. So let me and Kelly know down in the comments below, do you think the dog was a ghost or something demonic? We would love to hear your theories and thoughts and opinions. Just be respectful. But honestly, my theory on this situation is that it was a ghost. Because I feel like if it was demonic, I think she would have seen it more than once, in my opinion. But I mean, I could be wrong. I just think that it was residual energy left over from that hanging. You're a dog, your owner hangs you. Honestly, you're going to be pretty pissed about that. So I think that, residual energy, and I think it was a ghost. The fact that she's never seen it again, I think that's why it's not demonic. Because I feel like if it was demonic, it would have been way more malicious, and she probably would have had more encounters. But speaking of, she has a follow-up encounter, and this one is about the haunted doll. Now, this story takes place in the same house as the Demonic Doberman story. Now, Kelly says that about 25 to 30 years after the owner hung the dogs and himself, a son murders his own mother with a hammer and dumps her body in the backyard well, where the body stayed for nearly a year before it was found. She said that she was 15 years old at the time that murder happened across the street. And as the months passed, the house was boarded up and condemned. But she said there was something very spooky looking about this house. And when her and her friends would walk by it at night, they would stop and stare at the windows because they could swear that they seen lights in the top window, almost like dim candlelight. So one summer night, her and her friends decided that they were going to go see if they could sneak into this house, being teenagers. She thinks there was maybe about 4 of them. So they go into the backyard and see cellar doors. They argued for a minute about who was going in first. Then they opened the doors and walked in the pitch black house. She said it smelled horrible, like something rotten. They walked upstairs but could hardly see anything. She said that she saw a porcelain doll laying on the ground and grabbed it. The place just didn't feel right. She felt as if someone knew that they were there. Then all of a sudden, her friend starts screaming and runs to get out of the house. So then they all panicked and ran out screaming. Her friend told her that she thought she heard a woman moaning and felt something grab her. As they were leaving, she stopped and pulled a small chip of wood off the house, and they went back to her house. And they all went down to Kelly's garage and tried to perform a seance with the items that they collected from the house. And she said that she knows that was stupid, but they were dumb kids trying to have fun, which is understandable. Now, she said that they tried to make contact with the spirits that had lived in that house. She doesn't remember anything out of the ordinary happening that night, but she doesn't think that they really paid enough attention. But before they left the garage, she hid the doll and wood chip in a corner of the garage and covered it up so her grandmother wouldn't find it. Now, a few days passed, and her and her sister decided to go and check out the doll. They went down into the garage and seen that all of her late grandfather's toolboxes and tackle boxes had been moved and were wide open, and that the doll was sitting in the middle of the floor, not where she originally had the doll. Remember, she had the doll in the corner of the garage, but now the doll is in the middle of the floor of the garage. Her and her sister grabbed each other and said, "Oh my God." And then she kicked the doll and it flew towards the back of the garage. And she closed all of her grandpa's toolboxes and she said they darted out of there. Now, Kelly said it took them about a week or so to gather up enough courage to go back down the garage and check it out. She said that when they opened the garage door and seen the exact same thing, the toolboxes open again and all over the place, and the doll once again in the middle of the room. This time, she said she found an old box and put the doll in it and shoved it underneath the shelf case. She said that her mom, her sister, and her ended up moving out of her grandmother's house shortly after this incident. It was pre-planned. It wasn't because of the doll. They planned on moving out of grandmother's house before this incident. But about 10 years later, after her grandmother passed on, her mom comes to the house with the box and says, "I got this from your grandma's house. Do you want it?" She opened it and it was that freaky porcelain doll. She said, "Heck no, please get that thing out of my house." She couldn't believe it. But Kelly says that she thinks about that doll and just wonders what it was doing or what had possessed it or manipulated it to move like that. And once again, let us know your theories down in the comments below. But my opinion and my theory on what manipulated the doll is that, once again, that residual energy. I think something was attached to that doll because of what happened in that house. There's something about that house that is off. Now there's some type of spirit or energy living there. And between the dog and the doll, I just think that was, messing with anything that was inside that house was a mistake, as you now know. But yeah, I think the doll was being manipulated because items can't be possessed. They can only be manipulated, kind of, like the Annabelle doll. But good thing you got rid of the doll, because whatever is now infesting that house was attached to that doll. And luckily, nothing too extreme happened, and everything, worked out for the better. Ooh, I can't speak. And and that you're doing okay. But oh, and Kelly, I tried to do some research on the house that was across the street from your grandmother's house, and honestly, I couldn't find anything. It's weird. I tried every wording. I tried Ohio, son murders mother, buries body in cistern, or buries body in well. I looked up the town. I looked up everything, and it weirdly, I couldn't find anything. Doesn't mean that there is nothing. It's just, I think I gotta sit down and actually do some more research or do some more typing. And maybe because this happened, you said it happened about 2004, give or take a year. It's probably in a deep archive somewhere, and I just gotta find it. But I'm gonna keep looking, and the second I find something, I will mention it on another video. But thank you so much for sending in your stories and sharing your encounters with me and allowing me to share your encounters. Because I honestly don't know what I would do in that dog situation, and I don't mess with dolls. But thank you so much. I hope more people send in stories. If you are interested in sending in a story like Kelly, the link to the email is down in the description. Join the Facebook group. That is also down in the description. And thank you for tuning in once again. It means a lot, that you guys are commenting and liking and listening to my voice, my annoying voice. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I will catch you guys in the next episode.